China's president echoing the UK's call for more cooperation and better ties after a decade of friction on trade and security. Prime Minister Keir Starmer, the first British leader to visit China in 8 years. Both he and Xi Jinping finding reason to hedge against unpredictability in Washington. PM Starmer hailing relations as being, quote, in a good, strong place. Ties between Whitehall and Beijing had cooled over allegations of Chinese spying in Britain. But a very different tone today from Prime Minister Starmer and President Xi.
中方愿同英方发展长期稳定的全面战略伙伴关系。中国快过春节了，下一年呢就是中国的马年，相信你的访问呢，这是一个基兆，两国合作呢一定能够一马当先，为中英关系、两国合作开新局。
Mr. Starmer touring the Forbidden City as a former imperial palace and UNESCO World Heritage Site after touting areas of concrete progress during talks of almost an hour and a half with President Xi Jinping.
We made some really good progress on tariffs for whisky, on visa-free travel to China, and on information exchange and cooperation on irregular migration, focusing particularly on small boats and engine parts. So a very good constructive meeting with real outcomes.
Olly Barratt is covering this story for CNA live from London. Olly, Prime Minister Starmer there, a good constructive meeting with real outcomes. Did we see that?
We have certainly seen some real outcomes. Perhaps the headline outcome here in the UK is the agreement that we are told by the UK government that we have from China to allow visa-free travel for UK citizens for periods of up to 30 days. Even earlier in the day, it didn't necessarily look like that was going to be an agreement that would be announced because President Xi Jinping himself suggested that the two sides were talking about it and that China had it under consideration. But Downing Street says that has now been agreed and that it will be a significant boost for businesses and tourists as well who want to travel to China and can now do so more easily. But Downing Street says there is a whole list of other concrete outcomes from these meetings. We heard Keir Starmer there talking about cooperation around illegal migration. Downing Street says there'll be a joint feasibility study. It describes it as for a UK-China trade in services agreement. There's a cooperation in the field of conformity assessment, agreements around exports from the UK to China, cooperation in domiciliary services, sports industries, technical and vocational education and training, plenty more besides as well. And also AstraZeneca, just one of the companies announcing major investment going in either direction, $15 billion it will invest in China in the years ahead. So the UK would say, and I think the Chinese side is suggesting as well, that there are a significant list of concrete outcomes from this trip already from Keir Starmer.
Olly, the Conservative leader of the opposition, Kemi Badenoch, saying that if she were Prime Minister, she would not visit China, quote, at this time. So a sense of how this tie reset is being viewed from some quarters at home.
Very much so. There are mixed views about whether this trip should even be going ahead. Already mixed reception here in the UK at how Keir Starmer has handled it. Some of the language he has used, whether he is potentially bringing his administration too close to that of President Xi Jinping. We've been hearing as well from the Conservatives. They say Keir Starmer played all his hands before he even got to China. Downing Street insists that some of the areas of difference between the two governments have been broached by Keir Starmer in the discussions he's been having in Beijing, and UK government sources tell CNA that those have been substantive discussions, not just fleeting mentions of some of the areas of differences on human rights, on Hong Kong, on claims of espionage, that kind of thing. Keir Starmer believes that you can strike that right balance between challenging and competing where necessary, but also boosting ties and cooperation where you can to the benefit of both countries. But as I say, here in the UK, there is some scepticism about whether that is possible. But the UK government believes that the economy is going to be key here, that they believe you can help boost economic growth back in Britain with this enhanced cooperation when it comes to business ties with Beijing.
Oh, thanks. Olly Barratt covering this for CNA live from London. CNA senior correspondent Tan Guan tells us why President Xi has welcomed these moves from Prime Minister Keir Starmer.
President Xi pointed out that as permanent members of the UN Security Council and major global economies, both China and the UK need to strengthen dialogue and cooperation, whether be it to maintain world peace or to promote economic development and well-being of their respective people. He adds that China was ready to develop a long-term and comprehensive strategic partnership with Britain. He emphasized that mutual trust is the foundation for stable long-term development and relationship, and he also highlights that China has always adhered to the path of peaceful development and has never initiated war nor has occupied an inch of another country's territory, and vowed that no matter how strong China becomes, it will not pose a threat to other countries. In the exchange, President Xi also dropped that China is willing to actively consider implementing unilateral visa-free travel for British citizens. I think that would be a welcome news for would-be travelers to China as well as those with business ties with China. He said in rolling out the sweetener, Mr. Xi noted that both China and the UK are great cultural nations and have made important contributions to mankind. So he says that both sides should strengthen cultural exchanges and further facilitate personnel exchanges. He says he welcomed more visits to China by the British government, the parliament, or various sectors of society to gain a comprehensive and objective and accurate understanding of China.